It is the month of May, and this is a month where a lot of things are worth remembering and reflecting on.
Not the least of which is this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. This is commUNITY.
Hi, I'm Claudine Ewing.
And I'm Pete Gallivan, and we've chosen a fitting location to remember the veterans who gave their lives in service of our country. We're here at the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park.
And here you will also see the African American Veterans Monument, a lot of memorials to those who have died, people of color who died, and we are remembering them also.
Yeah, this is an amazing work of art, really, that was unveiled 2 years ago. And each of these bollards, or columns, if you will, represents a conflict that the U.S. took part in, and also African American veterans took part and fought for their country even before they were citizens.
You're right about that, and people can still buy bricks to remember those lost. I know my family bought one in memory of my father.
And this month, we're also remembering 10 lives lost in our community.
It happened May 14th, 2022 on Jefferson Avenue, outside and inside of the Top Supermarket. There is now an honor space, and I had a chance to speak with those behind that honor space. These pictures and videos show the hours of work that went into designing and producing this honor space. Valeria Cray and her son Hiram created this sculpture called Unity. In the center of the space, notice the colors.
The purple stands for royalty, and the gold stands for power.
The curves and bends is part of Valeria's signature in a lot of her artwork. She calls it one of her most difficult jobs that she's ever done. There are 10 purple spires representing those who died, and the gold,
faith, hope, and love.
And a community.
People still suffering. The spire that goes inward represent the pain that we keep carrying inward our body.
It sits on a drum.
The drum represents no beginning and no end.
And look at it at night.
It lights up at night because the spirit of the people rises.
A mother and son spent hours on this design.
He was able to push me as a parent that, Mom, you can do this.
They changed it at least 4 times.
This work is our love. It is an embodiment of our love for our community. It is an embodiment of our hopes and dreams for our community, an embodiment of our care and protection for our community, for the families, an embodiment of our condolences and embrace.
The landscape artist designed a gold circle that represents the sun and wraps around the sculpture.
This whole area she designed so people can come in a space and be able to be at peace.
The 10 granite figures, standing now as guardians, are eternally lit from within, their chests bearing bronze Adinkra symbols selected by their loved ones. Future generations forever knowing these souls we honor in the space.
Adinkra symbols are on every bollard.
The unassuming geometric abstracted shapes of the work are connected to a deeper language, a visual language used by our ancestors to build complex meanings and stories.
There is also a pear tree from a seedling of a tree that survived 9/11.
It's a small piece, a small area. This could be known all over the world.
This work tells the story of our community, created by people of your community, the Black community, to not only honor the memory of those that we have tragically lost and to give space and solace to the families, but also to be a defiant reminder for us as a people, as Black people, to remain vigilant, to love and for care for each other, that despite our differences, that we are united under a singular culture and history, that we must look out for each other, protect each other, and hold each other accountable. This corner that our community poured so much love into seeded the work of love that you see before you.
An untold number of people traumatized. You were here soon after and said that Buffalo showed resiliency. What should this city, Black people, white people, urban, suburban, what should they continue to focus on?
Well, I think that they should focus clearly on in the name of those that were deceased. I did a couple of the funerals, as you know, Ms. Whitfield and others, and those families have continued to work toward having a fair and just environment, but also to revitalize the community. One of the reasons that white supremacists knew to go to Tops is that was the only supermarket in the Black community. So he knew that's where blacks would come. We need to continue, as we said 2 years ago, building more accessibility to businesses in our communities, accessibility in terms of creativity, in terms of jobs, economic development. And we need to continue to work with those leaders there in Buffalo toward that end. And I'm committed to doing that. I think that we cannot just memorialize them every year. We must be able to every year say in their name, here's our report card on what we've done and what we committed we would do when this very tragic incident happened.
These mass shootings continue to happen. Why do you think 514 especially hit a nerve with this nation?
I think it hit a nerve because this was raw and unequivocal. This man didn't leave anything for debate. As I've worked a lot of these cases down through the years, you have to convince people, the public, that this was white supremacy. He said, I'm a white supremacist. He made it very clear. And this was not in the Deep South. This was in Western New York. So I think that it was so clear and so plain and so vicious because these people were shopping on a weekend afternoon. I think that it hit a nerve where people said, we really have not gone as far forward as we have said we was as a nation. I think it was a wake-up call.
What needs to truly happen to make a difference in inner city neighborhoods like this?
Investment. How do we get stores and businesses in other areas? We invest. We get banks to invest. We get government to give seed money. We need investments. If the investments were there, and I think the victims' families could help lead that and be some kind of panel with that, then I think the people will obviously support it and purchase from it. But how do we build great developments? We invest in them. These developers don't put up their money. They get pension fund investments, public fund investments. I think we need to invest.
I know my mother, she loved fishing. I really wasn't that much of a fishing person. So after, 514 happened, George Johnson, he reached out to me, told me my mother used to love coming down here, fishing, invited me to come down. He showed me the plaque that they had in honor of my mother's name and memory.
He wrote a book. Now it's in the Buffalo schools for parents and staff to read.
Not only is it African-American history, it's Buffalo history, New York State history. It's etched in stone as being part of American history now. And we want to keep this known so people here won't forget it.
You're not done with writing?
I'm actually in the process of writing, I don't even want to call it a book. It's more a collection of short stories that I say regarding dreams I've had with my mother in it.
His mother, 62-year-old Geraldine Talley, was killed inside the store. Now he has memories and pictures from growing up with her.
She only had, packs of ham maybe to protect herself from an illegally modified semi-automatic weapon.
This has changed you to be a better man.
Running my organization, Agents for Advocacy, doing the best that I can regarding, especially this summer with maternal health and food inequality.
What difference do you want to make in Buffalo, New York State, and the world if you could?
To show the effects that what gun violence, systemic racism, and socioeconomic inequality can have on a person. Like I say, it wasn't easy for him to come to the poorest area in the city of Buffalo and kill as many black people that he wanted that day, in which he was very successful at it. I say use your trauma as your treasure. If you can, try to fight and do something about it. That's what I did that whole summer of 2022. I've been told a lot, most people aren't resilient as me and most people can't, man up like I did. So just get into something which you think can inflict positive change that you want to see done because of the trauma that happened to you.
Here at Freedom Park, where they call it healing waters at times, your mom would come here. Do you feel that this was a healing place for her?
Hopefully once, I start fishing, hopefully it'll be kind of a spirit connecting us.
And I think we can expect more big things to come from Mark Talley as he remembers his mom and all of those lost on 514.
Coming up next here on Community, we're getting fashionable at St. Francis.
Springtime is when many high school seniors might start to slack off before graduating and going off to college, but not Keon Ulenga of St. Francis High School.
It started around the end of March. It started off as an idea that I later started to introduce to other people, like my dad, my girlfriend, friends.
He's talking about his new business, a clothing line of matching sweatsuits for men and women.
I ended up starting off with hats with the logo. After a month and a half of that, that's when I branched out to sweatsuits and had some success with that.
The line is called Forever the Greatest.
It has a lot of different meanings to it. The main meaning to me and what I feel like is people think you have to do certain things in life to be great, but you really just have to be great by being yourself.
It's a lesson Keon has learned over his 4 years playing defensive back for the Red Raiders. He's heading to Edinburgh University in the fall to continue his football career.
A lot of athletes really don't understand having a backup plan. My parents have done a great job of always explaining to me, yeah, you're good at sports, but what else do you bring? What else can you do outside of that? Because sports is gonna end someday, no matter what.
So for now, Keon's focus off the field is growing his online business and seeing where it can take him next.
Some days I'll just feel like I want to just go home and work on business related things, but I might have projects or essays or something to do for school. So sometimes it's hard balancing that, but it really hasn't been too hard. I know the staff and a lot of the teachers around the school know what I'm doing and they support it wholeheartedly. So yeah.
As we reflect on the value of the African American Center for Cultural Development's work, we're reminded
standing on the front lawn,
vital future for all of us requires being able to see and understand each other's history and heritage.
Celebrating new beginnings. One snip opens the new African American Center for Cultural Development in Olean, New York.
It's like a vision that's coming true. It's a lot of hard work, but I enjoy it.
It's sharing Black history, which director Della Moore says should be talked about in the area.
African American history is American history, and everybody you see here is a history.
I've noticed myself, it's not a lot of Black people around in this area.
Yeah.
And stats from Data USA reflects that. There are 1.28% Blacks living in Olean, New York. So how do we change that?
Talk up your town. And that's not different from any other ethnic group.
The cool part about this center is that this house was actually donated to Miss Della. The first floor is open, but as you can see behind me here, the second floor, it will be coming soon. There's exhibits from current events to dating to slavery. Moore says about 95% of her displays are all founded by her. What role does Olean play within African American history?
Oh, a lot. For one thing, let's do the Underground Railroad. Olean was played a very big role in Underground Railroad. Not one runaway enslaved person was ever caught and turned back to the yeah.
Della Moore has been trying to open this center since pre-COVID, and she didn't give up.
Every single thing in here is my favorite. Got a story behind it.
We know and love Buffalo as a football town, but what you may not know is that 10 years after the birth of the Bills, another group of gridiron pioneers took the field in the Queen City.
The team was organized in October of 1970 by an 18-year-old woman named Dee Dee DeBone.
Dee Dee DeBone was following a passion to play. She found out about the Women's Professional Football League, which began play in 1965. She made a pitch to play in Cleveland, but the league founder, Sid Friedman, had a better idea. He said he would finance a team in Buffalo if Dee Dee would organize it.
So she started the team by putting want ads in the Buffalo newspapers.
There was an article in the paper to come and audition, and I thought it was kind of exciting.
One of the 100 potential players who turned out for that initial tryout was Cheryl Cooper.
You know, in my heart, I'm kind of an unrealistic dreamer. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to make this team.
Like most of the others, she was athletic but had never played football. She was also unsure of the response she'd get from friends and family.
I didn't want my family to know that I was going out for a tackle women's football team.
So when she made the team, it was under the name Leslie Lynn. Soon her excitement turned to frustration. The team was getting attention before their first game. The Courier-Express newspaper even came out to take pictures at their practice. A little later in that practice, Cheryl was tackled and broke her leg.
So I come in there on crutches and just said, you know, what happened to me? I fell, I broke my leg. And there on the sports page, big picture of the Buffalo All-Stars, and there I am in uniform. And my brother's looking at it and say, Dad, look at this football team's here, and that looks like Cheryl. And I go over there and look, and I said, wow, it does look like me. What's her name? Leslie Lynn. Wow, so my family didn't know until like quite a few weeks later.
She said she loved playing the game. The All-Stars and the league lasted another 3 seasons, shutting down in 1973. But recently, these trailblazing women were honored at a spot where they made history as the first women's professional football team in New York State. A historic marker unveiled at All High Stadium celebrating that historic first game.
And this dedication to wonderful women that are pioneers and role models for women and girls in sport today.
Historian Greg Tranter did the research that paved the way for this event and celebration.
After I interviewed them, it's like, I need to do something about this. I need to write the story. I need to pursue a historical marker. I just need to do something to immortalize what they did back in the early 70s. And so to me, the Pride on Saturday will be all about honoring the women that played.
Oh my God. You know what? I'm getting emotional even thinking of it now. You're going to bring a lot of Kleenex, aren't you?
Yes, that's right. That's right. And a fitting and long overdue honor for that group of brave women who broke the gridiron glass ceiling.
And when we talk about people who are brave and doing things that really stood out, there was someone in South Buffalo who was really making a mark. Unfortunately, we lost him, and now we want to pay tribute to Tommy Cowan. Tommy Cowan, restaurateur.
He's been in the restaurant business since 15 years old.
He was about family, friends, food, and giving back.
Just the kindest, gentlest person you'll ever meet.
Cowan, 44 years old. His family says his death was unexpected.
It's a tragic loss for the family, first and foremost, his friends and the community.
The owner of Doc Sullivan's and 40 Thieves is being remembered.
He smiled at you, he called your name, and he made your day.
Speaking of helping others, for South Buffalo, he was the epitome, feeding Mercy Hospital nurses during COVID, helping firefighters and police officers during tragedy.
He always is the first one to help out, hold a fundraiser, do a fill the boot for JRNO.
There's like a halfway house that was next door to us, and he gave numerous people there jobs and just anything they could do to make an extra buck, just to feed them.
He was considered a visionary in the local restaurant business.
Tommy was a foodie. And his attention to detail was second to none. Something that might be from Fort Lauderdale that wouldn't normally work here, but he could spin it the way so it actually made you feel so comfortable.
Hundreds of people he's hired, and the stories are they'll blow your mind.
For the council president,
just a tremendous person who, like I said, at any moment would spring to action to do what he could for anyone.
Cowan was family.
Sometimes you hear people say things like, I've never heard anyone say a bad word about him. And sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not, but this is one of the clear cases where that's true.
Coming up next on Community, documenting hate while calling for peace.
A movie about 514 that's coming up.
After surviving being shot in the face by a white supremacist in a post-9/11 attack, Ray Spuyon has made it his life's work to better understand what drives people to hate and whether forgiveness can be found. That's what inspired him to make Pain and Peace, a documentary that explores forgiveness after experiencing hate.
There are millions of people out there that face tremendous trauma. And the more we reflect on our own journey, the more we think about finding positive in the negative experience that we went through, we can definitely come back and find ways to contribute to make this world a better place.
For the film, Bhuiyan spoke with people from across the U.S. and Canada, including Garnell Whitfield, whose mother Ruth was killed in the top shooting, and Dr. Levan Ansari from the Community Health Center of Buffalo.
When we went to Buffalo in 2023, we met Garnell and a few other folks who are the survivors of this tragedy. And it deeply touched me knowing his life story and also the way he lost his aged mother and the impact had on him and also in the community deeply moved me. And the way he also talked about his journey of finding purpose.
Bhuiyan is also the founder of the nonprofit World Without Hate, which takes him around the world to share his story and talk about the power of forgiveness. He had this to say about Buffalo.
I'm hopeful that this community will flourish with their message of love, mercy, and compassion, and will help contribute to make this world a better place.
My phone kept pinging, and you still never imagined that.
It's a wake-up call that allows us to do different. That gives my mother's death meaning.
I'm Catherine Massey's sister. The movie we just saw, the film, it was very nice. It does instill pain. It's still so raw to me and my family. I feel for each and every one of those families, their loved ones. But I know I say Cat just, Damone, I don't even know. Cat was just like she just held things together. Cat was our cheerleader. Cat was. Yeah, she was just, and this was every day, Cat was that person, if you need her, she was there. She was funny. She was very intelligent. And she just loved to see people prosper. She loved to see kids just do well in school. That was her mission.
Every victim from 514 had a story. That was the case for Cat Massey. The Buffalo native was a longtime volunteer in the Buffalo Public Schools. In her memory, her former employer, Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, established the scholarship fund in her name. The recipients are Cameron Mosley, Dominique Stitz, Natalie Miller, and Joelle Alston.
And now refocusing back on Memorial Day weekend and those who gave their lives for country at a place that's going to be very busy this weekend here at the Naval and Military Park.
It's always nice to hear from those who actually served, why they did it, and what they have to say to the next generation.
You join the military because you want to. And we have to instill in all our young kids, youngsters, the love of country. And just like like me, I'm 70, but grew up with that kind of thing. You pledge allegiance every morning at class, in the schools, and I understand they're getting rid of the flags in some of the schools, and it's just disheartening.
So what would your main message be to the young people?
Love your country, and love your neighbor as yourself. Like the good book says, and be there to help out anybody that needs help.
Now, obviously, Memorial Day is a day to reflect on those who gave their lives for their country, but it's also the unofficial start to summer.
And we all really enjoy that. We want to thank you so much for joining us this month on commUNITY. We'll be back next month to celebrate some other big events happening here in Western New York.